We've been on over 30 cruises, but this was our very first Alaska cruise. And even though we knew Alaska was beautiful and I did a lot of research, I admit there were some things that I absolutely did not expect. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, I have to admit something. Even though we just came back from our very first Alaska cruise, Alaska was actually not high on my bucket list, at least for years. Now, the reason for that is because I am from a cold place. Basically, I live in Canada and we do get a lot of cool weather. And I wasn't sure, even though I knew Alaska was beautiful, I knew people really loved their Alaska cruises. I wasn't 100% sure that it was for me. Now, I'm happy to admit I was wrong. We absolutely loved our Alaskan cruise, but I'm not going to leave it at that. If you are planning your own Alaskan cruise, what I will be doing is going through our cruise, what we did in our cruise ports, what we enjoyed about the cruise ship, and a lot of tips and tricks that can help you along the way. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Now, our first Alaska cruise was a 7-day inside passage cruise on Holland America Koningsdam, leaving from Vancouver, going to Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, and Glacier Bay. Now, Holland America invited us on this cruise as a press trip. However, as always, all of my thoughts and opinions are my own. Now, I've been keeping track of a lot of the questions that people have had about Holland America Koningsdam, about the cruise ports, and about Alaska cruises in general. So throughout this video, I will make sure that I do share that information. Now, our Alaska cruise started off in Vancouver, and we couldn't have been happier about that. We did arrive a couple of days before, so we had a chance to explore the city. On embarkation day, we were staying at the Pan Pacific Hotel, which, by the way, is a really lovely hotel and an absolutely perfect location right by the Seawalk and Canada Place. From this hotel, it was very easy to make our way to the terminal on embarkation day. Now, embarkation was definitely hectic at the Vancouver terminal. There were, I think, 3 ships that were boarding that day. However, while it did take probably about an hour and a half till we went through security and we were able to board the cruise ship, once we were on board, everything was just perfect. Now, once we were on board, we checked out our cabin. More on that beautiful balcony cabin a little bit later. We also went and did our e-muster. It is fast and easy. We explored the cruise ship, and of course, we went and had something to eat. Now, even though it was a little bit cool and rainy, we did head out to the SAILAWAY party at the aft of the cruise ship. I wasn't sure what to expect for an Alaskan cruise SAILAWAY, but it was a lot of fun. Now, one of the things that surprised me almost right away about our Alaska cruise was the scenery. We knew that the scenery in Alaska would be absolutely beautiful, but something that we found out is from the very moment that you're leaving Vancouver and as you're sailing through the inside passage, the scenery, the coastline is just so incredibly beautiful. Now, something that we came to find out throughout our cruise was the integration between the cruise ports in Alaska and the cruise ship. It really just felt more connected as a travel experience than anything I really had felt before on a cruise, but I will share why. The cruise ship. The cruise ship that we were sailing on was Holland America's Koningsdam. This is a mid-sized cruise ship, which was a really nice size to be sailing to Alaska. Now, one of the things that I really liked about this cruise ship was the fact that it does have a covered pool. This was pretty nice because a lot of times during those sea days, people were utilizing the pool, they were utilizing the hot tub. Now, something that I really liked was within this covered pool area, there are a couple of different eating options as well. I'll share a little bit more on the food later, but it really made this area a nice place to sit with the floor to ceiling windows. Now, in addition to the covered pool, there's also a really nice aft pool with 2 hot tubs. I have to say, whether it is a sea day or you are glacier viewing, that is an absolutely phenomenal spot. Now, the interior of the Koningsdam is beautiful. There is an elegant 2-story main dining room. Little tip here, if you can sit towards the aft when you're leaving any of the cruise ports or even a day at sea, you're just going to get an incredible view. Now, in the central part of the Koningsdam, you have the guest services and the Dutch Cafe. This was definitely one of my favorite places to hang out, especially after coming back from a day at port. Now on deck 2, you'll find the famous music walk. It does get a little bit dark and moody there, especially in those after dinner hours, but it's absolutely perfect whether you're checking out the band and dancing at BB King's, or maybe you head over to Rolling Stone Rock Room and you check out the rock band, or you go to one of my favorite spots, which was Billboard on Board, sort of like dueling pianos. That was a great place to go at nighttime. And by the way, if you are into an Aperol Spritz, check out the Miami Spritz. Very good at that bar. Now, we were in a balcony cabin and we appreciated having the small sofa, the really good amount of storage space, and the desk as well. Now, some of the things that I really liked about this cabin, by the way, and some of the nice touches maybe that I found on Holland America, was the fact that firstly, you had bathrobes that were in the closet. So do make sure in your cabin that you do take a look for those bathrobes that are in there. The other thing that we found was there was an umbrella that was there for guests to use. And the other thing that we found was in the cupboard, there were a couple of soft flannel blankets, and those were great for the early mornings on our balcony while we were looking at the glaciers. Now, even though most of us book our Alaska cruise for the cruise ports, you might be wondering, what is there to do on an Alaska cruise during the sea days or even during the evening time? That was something that I was wondering about. So there's actually a lot to do on the sea days during an Alaskan cruise. So whether it's actually swimming, some people do, whether it's the indoor pool or the outdoor pool. But beyond that, there's of course the exercise classes, there's walking, but there were also art classes that were offered on our cruise. Now, something that was really particularly interesting were some of the wildlife experts that were on the cruise and some of those different informational sessions that were held in the crow's nest. It was a really nice way on sea days to learn a little bit more about Alaska. Now, by the way, if you're into pickleball or you think you might want to give it a try, there was a fantastic pickleball court on our cruise ship on the top deck. Those views were incredible. Now, something pretty cool is that Holland America is the official cruise line of the Professional Pickleball Association, and there are beginner lessons offered. Now, when it comes to the evening entertainment, one of the questions that I've been asked is there any nightlife on Holland America? So yes, there is definitely a nightlife, but something to remember is that the mornings are very early in Alaska, and something that we found is basically by about 11:15 to midnight, that is pretty much when most things seem to clear out, at least in terms of the main area and the music walk. Now, there are different shows that are shown in the theater, really good dancers. There was a singing show with a quartet that was excellent. Now, on the first night of the cruise, there is a show called Origins that's showing in the main theater. I really do suggest that you try and go. It is all about the history of Holland America. Now, Holland America is celebrating their 150th anniversary. There are a lot of things actually going on around the ship in celebration, and I have to admit there was a lot I didn't know, and it was so much more interesting than I expected. Now, something to be prepared for in terms of an evening activity is one of the nights of your cruise, you are going to have an orange party. And the orange party is basically an ode to the royal family and the Dutch heritage. And basically what people do is they bring either an orange top or something orange to wear, even an accessory, and there is a fun party on board. Now, switching gears a little bit, let's take a look at the Alaska cruise ports. I'm going to share with you my favorite day of the cruise, and then we'll come back on the cruise ship, talk about dining and the demographics of the cruise ship and who I think this cruise is for. Now, Juneau was our first port of call, and I had one mission, and that was to hope to see a whale. So the excursion that we booked through the cruise line was called the Sentinel Lighthouse with Whale Watching Tour. So what we did for the first part of the tour is we had a little stop off at the Mendenhall Glacier. That was very pretty, but then we were able to get on the boat and we were able to go over to the lighthouse. Now, we did see the lighthouse. It was very pretty. We even got to see a bald eagle. So that is something to do. Make sure that you do bring your binoculars. You will absolutely need them on this excursion as well as on the cruise ship. Now, on the water, as we headed out to go look for the whales, we got to see an incredible scenery with mountains and glaciers in the background, and along the way we even saw some sea lions that were on a buoy and were on the coastline. And finally, we did have a chance to see that whale. Now, we were in Alaska in early May, and my understanding is it's less likely to see whales at this time than at other times, but we did see one whale. That whale came up a total of 5 times, and we even did get to see a little bit of whale tail action. Now, when we were in Skagway and it came to choosing our shore excursions, I admit I was a little bit conflicted. Should we choose the White Whale Pass Railroad, or should we go with the dog sledding Mushers Camp experience? Now, in the end, we went with the dog sledding experience. And just to let you know, this was not on the glacier. So instead, it was kind of like on a trail. Now, this was a really fun experience that went beyond my expectations. Now, we were sitting on, instead of a sled, I guess it seemed almost like a golf cart for 6 people with a musher, and she was explaining to us everything we needed to know about the dogs. There are actually a total of 16 dogs that are pulling the sleds. They were having so much fun, and at the end of the sled dog race, we had a chance to pet the dogs and play with them. It was a lot of fun. Now, we also learned about the Iditarod, and we had a chance to visit with a few little musher puppies. Now, after our tour and before heading back to the cruise ship, we did have a chance to walk around the town of Skagway. That is definitely a lot of fun. We stopped in for some lunch at the Skagway Brewing Company. That was very good. And we did have a chance to try the local beer, which is called the Spruce Tip Ale. Now, up until this point, we were pretty lucky when it came to the weather for our Alaskan cruise. The temperature was between the high 40s to the mid 50s most of the days, and pretty sunny most of the time. However, we weren't sure if our luck would hold out in Ketchikan. They were calling for rain. We had a pretty fun outdoorsy excursion planned, and we did pack our ponchos just in case. So we did a 4x4 off-road tour. That was a lot of fun. After doing that tour on the Jeeps, we headed over to Harriet Hunt Lake, where we had the canoeing portion of our tour. Now, something that you may not know about me is that I'm not super fit and super outdoorsy, so I wasn't sure how this would go, but I was thankful to find out that it was a canoe that was for about 30 people or so nobody would be completely relying on me. Now, the weather was looking a little bit iffy, but we were pretty thankful for these warm, if not fashionable, raincoats that were provided. Now, after canoeing about 15 minutes, we were treated at camp to some clam chowder, to some really nice smoked salmon dip, and for a little walk in the woods where we got to see some of the different vegetation, including mushrooms and skunk cabbage. Yes, that beautiful yellow flower is called skunk cabbage. We were very lucky that it didn't smell like skunk the day that we were there. Now, of course, between all of the different ports in Alaska and our day of glacier viewing in Glacier Bay, which is coming up in just a minute, we of course had a lot of different opportunities to dine in the main dining room and the different restaurants on the Koningsdam. Now, on the Koningsdam, you have many different choices when it comes to meals during the day and during the evening time. Now, something we did is we enjoyed breakfast in the main dining room. A couple of mornings on our cruise, we enjoyed our room service breakfast a couple of days as well. And of course, we also enjoyed the buffet. Now, 2 casual places to try and that we really liked were the deli, where you can get freshly made pizza, sandwiches, as well as salads that were absolutely delicious. And there's also Dive In. Now, Dive In is a place that you can get hamburgers, hot dogs, French fries. A little bit of a word of warning, it can take some time for either of these places because they are very popular, especially around lunchtime. So make sure that you do allow an extra, perhaps half an hour before you want to eat to order. Now, I almost forgot to mention one of my absolute favorite places on the cruise ship, which is the Dutch Cafe. Now, not only is the Dutch Cafe a really nice place to sit and have some coffee, and the coffee is very good, but you can also get some sweet and some savory snacks. Now, one of the things that is decadent, but you might want to give it a try, is the boshi bowl. Now, something that we found out about the boshi bowl, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing this, but basically this is kind of like a giant cream puff. Now, it's a shareable snack. Don't try to eat it on your own. You definitely need to share this. It is decadent. But apparently they only make about 120 of them every single day in batches of 16. So they are made fresh throughout the day. So it's definitely something to try. In addition to that, there are these small little Swedish pancakes. There are delicious crepes, cookies, and more. Now, when it came to the evening, we ate in the main dining room 3 nights and we ate in the specialty restaurants 4 nights. Now, our first night of our cruise, I have to admit, it was a little bit hectic in the main dining room. And I know a lot of people will mention this on different cruises. I think it just happens when it is the first night. So if you do have that experience, don't think the rest of the cruise is going to be like that. It is an adjustment for everybody. Now, in the main dining room, there are a wide variety of dishes, from appetizers, main dishes, to desserts. Now, something that was particularly nice about this cruise is there is a portion of the menu that's called Taste of Alaska. So you have special appetizers and main dishes that are really prepared specifically for this itinerary. Now, if you are a salmon lover, I had quite a few salmon dishes during this cruise. It was absolutely delicious. And something that we came to find out through our galley tour is that Holland America is the first cruise line that is serving certified sustainable Alaska seafood. Now, we ate at 4 specialty restaurants. There was Pinnacle, which is steak and seafood. Definitely, if you are a bacon lover, have the clothesline bacon. Although personally, I prefer the mushroom soup. We went to Canaletto, which is an Italian specialty restaurant, but it is interesting because its location is housed within the buffet area. However, it is closed off to other people in the evening time. Now, Canaletto's menu is interesting because while there is a set menu, there is also a special dish that really does change each evening. So you want to check that out perhaps before you go. Now, while I still enjoyed Canaletto, this wasn't my favorite of the 4. Now, we also got a chance to dine at Tamarind. Now, I had eaten at Tamarind last year and I ordered the exact same thing. So I ordered the Szechuan shrimp. I was so happy I did. It did not disappoint. And we went to Rudy's Sel de Mer, which is mostly seafood, but there are some other dishes as well. Rudy's Sel de Mer was absolutely delicious and the presentation was outstanding. It is well worth going, in my opinion. Now, you might be wondering, how are the drinks on the cruise, especially if you have a beverage package? I can confirm the bartenders were excellent. The drinks were really good. They do have a couple of special drinks for their 150th anniversary. Now, one of the drinks that I particularly liked, and I would see it on the main dining room menu, so that tended to be where I ordered it, but it was the Dutch 150. Really, really nice as a pre-dinner drink. And my husband enjoyed the beer called the Hal Pils. Now, there were quite a few drinks that I tried that I enjoyed, but my favorite is still the Aperol Spritz or the Miami Spritz. I like that too. And my husband really does enjoy the lemon drop martini as well. Now, I do have an honorable mention for the old fashioned that is made at the Ocean Bar. Oh my goodness, not only was that a drink, but that was an experience. Every evening, I think my son and my husband would go there and so enjoy it. Now, I have to say, as much as I loved the Alaskan cruise ports and I loved our time on the cruise ship, one of the very best parts of our Alaska cruise was Glacier Bay. I don't think anything prepared me for the absolute beauty of Glacier Bay. And I do have a few tips here. What you can do is try viewing Glacier Bay from different areas. So you might want to view Glacier Bay first from your own balcony if you do have a balcony cabin. Otherwise, head up as early as possible, even at 6 a.m. to the top deck, or you can also go over to the crow's nest. Now, something that's really cool when you're in Glacier Bay is that there are rangers that will come onto the cruise ship and they will share information about Glacier Bay, but they'll also be on the lookout for wildlife, and they'll actually come over the intercom and they'll announce to the entire cruise ship, look on the port side or on the starboard side, you might see some bears that are on the coastline. We did at one point see bears. I have to say, you really have to bring binoculars because I couldn't see it with the naked eye. You absolutely needed the binoculars, but you can see wildlife, glaciers, mountains. It really is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And you do want to keep a lookout in the water because you'll see the little heads of the sea lions pop out. Now, on our cruise, they opened up the bow of the cruise ship, and I definitely would suggest trying to head out there if you can. That was a spectacular place to really feel very close up to the glacier. Now, by the way, a little tip and something you want to watch out for is that on Holland America, they are serving their own Dutch pea soup. They're serving that at 10 a.m. So you want to make sure that you do get there quickly, either at the crow's nest or on deck 3. You do want to get that right away at 10 a.m. We found that even by 10:30, it was just about finished. We did have a chance to try the Dutch pea soup though. It is very hearty and delicious. Now, what's really cool about Glacier Bay is that you are there for hours. So that incredible scenery, well, you'll see that from the front of the ship, the back of the ship, whether you're playing pickleball, whether you're swimming in the pool or sitting in the hot tub, you're going to get to enjoy that for hours. So what's the demographic like, and who is this cruise ship for? Now, on an Alaskan cruise, I think that the age skews a little bit older than on Caribbean cruises. And let's face it, it is absolutely not a party cruise, but it is very interesting, and I do think people of all ages can enjoy it. Now, on our cruise, if I had to guess, I'd say the average age was probably somewhere around 60 to 65, but we definitely saw a lot of people that were anywhere from 50 and even a little bit younger, and of course to older ages as well. And there were some families on board as well, which did surprise me a little bit because we were there in May, but I have heard that even throughout the summer, you'll have a little bit more children as well. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know if you're going on an Alaskan cruise or if you're thinking of it, and please let me know any questions that you may have as well, whether it's about Holland America or about Alaska cruise ports or anything else. Please let me know down in the comments below. Now, I will leave a playlist of my other Alaska videos at the end of this one. I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.